You are broke by design, not because you lack intelligence, not because you lack work ethic, not because you got unlucky. You are broke because you are following a script written by the people who profit from your poverty. Right now, as you're reading this, someone with half your talent is building generational wealth while you grind for a paycheck. They're leveraging systems that multiply their money while they sleep. They're taking strategic risks that compound into empires. And here's the brutal truth. They're following rules you were never taught. Society handed you a script. Work hard, save money, be ethical with your finances, play fair. Don't be greedy. Follow these rules and you'll be rewarded. This is a lie. This lie is the most sophisticated trap ever designed. It's a cage built from virtues that sound beautiful but guarantee you stay poor. You have the intelligence. You have the work ethic. But you're playing a game with rules that were designed to keep you losing. That's because there are two types of people in the world of money. The first type follows the script society gave them. Let's call them what they are, the financial slaves. They trade their limited time for money. They fear all risk. They work alone. They apply their moral standards. They grab whatever cash is available now because they're desperate. And they stay broke forever, wondering why hard work isn't enough. The second type write their own script. These are the wealth architects. They build systems that generate money while they sleep. They calculate risk and take strategic bets with massive upside. They weaponize other people's time, money, and ideas. They play within the rules but optimize ruthlessly. And they sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term dominance. The difference between these two types isn't intelligence or luck, it's knowledge. Forbidden knowledge about how money actually works. Niccolò Machiavelli never wrote directly about money. He wrote about power. But in the modern world, money is power, and his darkest principles reveal exactly why some people build empires while others stay trapped in the time-for-money prison. Today I'm going to reveal the 5 forbidden laws of money that separate the financial slaves from the wealth architects. These are the rules the wealthy follow but never share. The strategies that feel wrong but create lasting wealth. The truths about money that society deliberately hides from you. If you're ready to stop being poor and start building real wealth, type this affirmation into the comments: I am the wealth architect. Chapter 1. The Law of Asymmetric Risk. The first law that keeps you poor is you fear all risk equally. The financial slave sees risk as an enemy. They ask, what if I lose everything? This question paralyzes them. So they choose what feels safe, the steady paycheck, the savings account, the predictable path. They believe they're being responsible, protecting themselves from disaster. But here's what they don't understand. Their safe choice is the riskiest move they could possibly make. Let me be clear. The 9-to-5 job you think is safe, it's a single point of failure. One decision by someone else, a layoff, a company restructuring, an economic downturn, and your income drops to zero. That savings account earning 0.5% interest, while inflation runs at 3%, you're losing purchasing power every single year. You're getting poorer in slow motion, and it feels comfortable because the decline is invisible. The wealth architect sees risk completely differently. They understand the law of asymmetric risk. Asymmetric risk is a situation where the potential downside is limited and survivable, but the potential upside is massive and life-changing. The wealth architect doesn't ask, is there risk? They ask, can I survive the worst-case scenario, and what happens if this works? This is a psychological shift from emotional fear to calculated strategy. The financial slave is controlled by loss aversion bias. This is a proven psychological principle. Humans feel losses about twice as intensely as gains. Losing $1,000 hurts more than gaining $1,000 feels good. This natural fear, when left unchecked, paralyzes you into poverty. The wealth architect acknowledges this fear, but acts anyway because the math favors action over paralysis. Let me give you a concrete example. The financial slave has money saved. They put all of it in a savings account because it feels safe. It earns almost nothing. Inflation eats away at it every year. Decades pass. They have roughly the same amount in the account, but it buys far less than when they started. They never escaped the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. They stayed safe and became poorer. The wealth architect takes the same amount of money and divides it strategically. Number 1, emergency fund, enough to survive 6 months if everything goes wrong. This is their downside protection. Number 2, investments, money placed in assets that historically appreciate. Number 3, side business, capital invested in building an income stream they control. Now, worst case scenario, the side business fails, but they still have their job, they still have their emergency fund. They still have their investments, they survive and learn from the failure. Best case scenario, the side business succeeds, it grows, it starts generating income that exceeds their salary. Eventually they can quit the safe job and focus on the business that has exponential upside. Or they keep both and watch their wealth compound. Poor people avoid all risk and stay poor. Middle-class people take stupid risks, gambling, get-rich-quick schemes, investments they don't understand. Rich people calculate asymmetric risk. They look for bets where losing means they take a small, survivable hit, but winning means exponential gains. If you understand that avoiding all risk is actually the riskiest move you can make, type this into the comments. I create options to secure my future. Chapter 2. The Law of Borrowed Leverage. The second law that keeps you poor is, you think you must do everything yourself. The financial slave operates from a scarcity mindset. I must earn every dollar myself. I must learn every skill myself. I must work every hour myself. They believe this is virtuous, that self-reliance is the path to success. This belief guarantees they stay broke. Why? Because you are limited by your own time and energy. There are 168 hours in a week. Even if you work 80 of them, you can only generate so much value alone. Your income is capped by your personal capacity. You are the bottleneck in your own wealth creation. The wealth architect understands borrowed leverage. They don't just use their own time, money, and labor. They weaponize other people's time, other people's money, and other people's ideas to build wealth exponentially. This is not exploitation. This is multiplication. Here's the mindset shift. Your own time is your most expensive resource. Every hour you spend doing low-value work, tasks that someone else could do for less money, you're losing money even if it feels like you're saving money. Let me show you how this plays out in the real world. The financial slave wants to start a business. So they spend years learning web design, marketing, sales, bookkeeping, legal compliance, every single skill required to run a business. Finally, after years of preparation, they launch. They do everything themselves because they can't afford to pay anyone. They work endless hours. They're doing the work of 5 people. They burn out before they see real results. The business fails or barely survives. They conclude, entrepreneurship doesn't work for normal people. Now watch the wealth architect with the exact same starting point. They want to start a business. They spend 1 week, not years, 1 week validating the idea with real customers. Do people actually want this? Will they pay for it? Once validated, they get leverage. They take a strategic business loan or find an investor. This is other people's money. They hire a web designer for the website. They hire a marketing specialist to get customers. They hire a virtual assistant to handle administrative tasks. Now the wealth architect focuses exclusively on what only they can do: high-level strategy, building relationships, and making key decisions. The things that actually generate revenue and growth. They launch in 1 month, not 2 years. They make far more revenue in year 1 because they're multiplying through others. After paying the loan and the team, they net substantial profit, and they own a sellable asset, a business that doesn't depend on them doing every task. Meanwhile, they're working fewer hours than the financial slave because they're focused only on high-value activities. And here's the key: they can scale. They can hire more people, add more systems, multiply their impact. The financial slave is forever capped by their own capacity. The brutal truth: one person working alone is always limited by their own hours. One person multiplying through others has an unlimited ceiling. Here's what the wealthy know that you don't. Good debt and bad debt are not about the amount borrowed. They're about what you do with the money. Bad debt buys consumption, things that lose value. Good debt buys production, assets and systems that generate income. To affirm your understanding of this law, type this into the comments: I multiply my wealth through others. Chapter 3. The Law of Moral Exemption. The third law that keeps you poor is you apply moral rules to money that the wealthy never follow. The financial slave believes in ethical money. They won't negotiate aggressively because that's greedy. They won't use tax strategies because that's cheating the system. They won't raise prices because that's taking advantage of people. They believe making money through moral purity is the only acceptable path. This moral cage keeps them broke forever. Meanwhile, the wealthy operate by completely different rules. And here's what makes you angry. They're not breaking any laws. They're just not handicapping themselves with moral standards that only apply to poor people. They ask one question: is it legal? Not, is it nice? Not, will everyone approve? Not, does this align with middle-class morality? Legal, that's the line. Everything within that line is fair game. Now, let me be very clear about what this means. This is not about being evil. This is not about hurting people. This is about understanding that society programs you with specific moral beliefs about money to keep you broke. Every time you think, I shouldn't do that, it's greedy, you're obeying their conditioning. Every time you accept less than you're worth because asking for more feels wrong, you're volunteering to stay poor. This is called moral licensing. Society gives you a good person identity, and that identity becomes a prison. You self-sabotage your financial success because violating the good person rules would shatter your self-image. The wealth architect breaks this mental prison. Let me show you exactly how this works in practice. The financial slave gets a job offer. They think, this seems fair, I shouldn't be greedy. They accept immediately without questioning anything. The company was prepared to pay significantly more. Over the course of a career, they leave hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table by being ethical. The wealth architect gets the same offer. They research the actual market rate for the position and their experience level. They respond confidently, I appreciate the offer. Based on my research and the value I bring, I'm looking for a higher number. The company counters. They negotiate strategically. They end up with higher salary, signing bonus and equity. Over a career, they earn hundreds of thousands more. Not because they're smarter, because they negotiated without apology. Here's what you need to understand. The system has rules. The wealthy play within those rules, but they play to win, not to be nice. They don't judge themselves by poor people's moral standards. When you negotiate hard, you're not being greedy, you're being strategic. When you optimize your taxes legally, you're not cheating, you're being smart. When you raise your prices to what the market will bear, you're not exploiting people, you're valuing your work appropriately. The game is not fair. The system is not designed for fairness. It's designed to reward those who understand and optimize within the rules. You can be angry about that, or you can start playing the actual game instead of the game you wish existed. Machiavelli warned, the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. You need to be both, strong enough to take what's yours, clever enough to navigate the system. If you are ready to choose effectiveness over false ethics, type this into the comments, I optimize without apology. Chapter 4. The Law of Compound Control. The fourth law that keeps you poor is you trade time for money instead of building systems that generate money. The financial slave is stuck in the linear income trap. They get paid only when they're actively working. Income equals hours multiplied by rate. Stop working and the money stops immediately. They build nothing that lasts beyond their labor. At retirement, they stop working and their income vanishes. This is the most common form of poverty in the developed world, high-earning poverty. You can make excellent money and still be poor if your income depends entirely on your continued labor. A doctor earning $400,000 per year who must work to earn it is a high-paid slave. A doctor who owns the hospital and earns $200,000 per year in passive income is a wealth architect. The difference is the law of compound control. The wealth architect doesn't trade time for money. They build income-generating systems. They create assets that produce returns continuously, whether they're working or not. Their goal is simple: get paid forever for work done once. This requires a fundamental mindset shift grounded in psychology. It's called hyperbolic discounting. Humans naturally overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future gains. The financial slave takes 50 today instead of building a system that generates 50 per month forever. The wealth architect delays gratification to build compounding machines. Let me show you how this difference plays out over a lifetime. Two professionals start with similar potential. One becomes a high-earning financial slave. One becomes a wealth architect. The financial slave, let's say they're a lawyer, consultant, high-level employee, makes an excellent salary working long hours. Their hourly rate is impressive. They spend most of their income on lifestyle to match their peers. At 40, they're still trading time for money. At 50, still working those long hours. At 60, they want to retire. But if they stop working, their income drops to zero. They've saved some money in retirement accounts, but now they must live on limited withdrawals. One health crisis, one unexpected expense, and their savings evaporate. They worked their entire life but built nothing that continues producing. Now watch the wealth architect with the same starting potential. They earn less initially because they're building a business or acquiring income-producing assets. They work insane hours in the early years, not for immediate income, but investing in the system. They reinvest profits into scaling rather than lifestyle inflation. Year 5, the business or asset portfolio generates substantial income, and their personal work hours decrease. Year 10, the business runs largely without them, or their investments produce significant passive income. At 40, they sell the business or transition to pure asset income. They never have to work again, but the income continues. It compounds. At 60, they're still earning passive income while living free. They struggled early, but they built something that pays forever. One person traded 40 years for money, then the money stopped. One person struggled early but built a money printing machine. Here's the critical distinction. You should get paid for work you did 10 years ago. If you're not, you're playing the wrong game. Poor people think in jobs. Rich people think in assets. The financial slave asks, how much per hour am I making? The wealth architect asks, how much per system am I making? How can I build something that generates returns while I sleep? Every hour you work for someone else, you're building their compounding machine. You're making them wealthier while you stay trapped in linear income. Your goal is to flip this dynamic. Have others work for your system. Have money work for your system. Have time compound in your favor, not against you. If you understand that real wealth comes from systems, not income, type this into the comments. I build empires, not paychecks. Chapter 5. The Law of Strategic Greed. The fifth and final law that keeps you poor is, you're greedy at the wrong times. This is going to challenge everything you think about greed. Most people hear greed and think it means taking as much as possible, as fast as possible. That's not greed, that's desperation. The financial slave is transactionally greedy. They grab every dollar available right now. They take the highest salary offer immediately without considering equity or growth potential. They squeeze every client for maximum price in every transaction. They won't invest in anything that doesn't pay back instantly because they need money today. This desperation makes them poor forever. The wealth architect practices strategic greed. They understand when to take and when to invest, when to charge premium prices and when to undercharge strategically, when to grab cash and when to sacrifice short-term money for long-term dominance. The key principle is delayed gratification. You know the famous marshmallow test. Kids who could wait for 2 marshmallows instead of eating one immediately had better life outcomes decades later. But the truly wealthy don't just wait for 2 marshmallows. They plant a marshmallow farm and grow infinite marshmallows forever. Let me show you exactly how this works. The financial slave is a freelancer. They charge a premium rate per project. A client offers slightly less than their usual rate. The freelancer thinks, I need money now, I have bills to pay. They take the lower rate, complete the project, deliver decent work. The client is satisfied, but nothing special happens. The client moves on. The freelancer is constantly hunting for the next client, always negotiating, always grinding. Years pass. They make decent money but work constantly. At 45, they're still freelancing, still broke, still hustling for the next paycheck. Now watch the wealth architect with the same opportunity. A client offers a lower rate for a project. The wealth architect says something unexpected, I'll do it for even less than you're offering. But I don't want this to be a one-time transaction. I want to be your exclusive, long-term partner for all your needs in this area. The client is intrigued. The price is great. They agree. The wealth architect takes the lower rate intentionally. This is strategic sacrifice. Then they over-deliver massively. They don't just complete the project, they transform the client's results. They build a deep relationship. They become indispensable. The client loves working with them. They refer 5 other companies. 2 years later, that first underpriced project client is paying exponentially more per year for ongoing services. The 5 referrals are each paying substantial ongoing fees. What started as taking less money has turned into a fortune in lifetime value. The brutal truth, the financial slave made quick cash once. The wealth architect turned a small sacrifice into massive wealth by being strategically greedy, building a dominant position, not transactionally greedy, grabbing immediate cash. Give up the immediate cash to gain the exponential future. That's not sacrifice. That's mathematics. If you choose infinite returns over instant cash, type this into the comments. I play the infinite money game. You now have knowledge that society hides from you. Most people will watch this video and do nothing. They'll nod along. They'll agree with the principles. They might even feel inspired for a few hours. Then they'll go right back to their programming. Back to the same job, the same mindset, the same poverty. Why? Because knowing is not the same as doing. So here's your transformation challenge. Pick one of the 5 laws that hit you hardest: asymmetric risk, borrowed leverage, moral exemption, compound control, strategic greed. Don't try all of them. Master one first, then apply it this week. These laws are weapons. Use them to build wealth that serves your mission and your freedom, not to exploit those who trust you. The choice is simple. Path 1, go back to the financial slave programming. Trade time for money, fear all risk, work alone. Grab whatever cash is available now, stay broke forever. Path 2, become the wealth architect. Build systems that pay you forever. Calculate asymmetric risk. Leverage other people's time and money. Optimize ruthlessly within legal boundaries. Play the infinite game. Build generational wealth. Society wants you to take path 1. That's why they taught you these rules in the first place. But you can't unknow what you just learned. If this video shattered your financial programming, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more forbidden truths about power and psychology that society doesn't want you to know. Share this video with someone who's still trading time for money and wondering why they're broke. They need to see this. And drop this affirmation in the comments to declare your commitment. I am the wealth architect.